In this video, let's talk about characters a little more. We will talk about how we declare them. We will talk about how we create characters literals and how we assign values to a characters or how we declare or define them, right? So we know a character is a byte, right, across platforms. And the way that you can find this out in C++ is to just print out the size of, right? Just type in any characters in there. You can actually just have this as a char, right? Size of char, okay? And then you will see it. Anyway, there are two types of characters. One is signed and the other one is unsigned. Both signed and unsigned, these are keywords in C++. Now, what this does is when you have a signed chart, you can go in both negative and positive directions. Okay, so by default, because now 1 byte is right 2 to the 8, this is 256. There's 256 possible values. So how do you divvy up, right, this 256 value into it? So computer science decides, well, 0 is considered a positive. Okay, so when you have 0 at the end, and this one in this direction, this is actually 127, right? Plus 1. So this is 128 plus 0. So here, this direction, negative direction, is 128, right? So if you add 128 plus 0 plus 127, this gives you a total of 256, okay? So the largest value you can have in a byte, in a character, in a positive direction when this is assigned, it's 127. This is great because this is great for your keyboard because that's how many characters you have there. So this is the reason why you see ASCII having 120 something characters in it. We don't really show beyond that. Unsigned, on the other hand, means there is no negative, right? So everything is positive. This means that you can actually up the ante, right? The amount of characters, positive characters you can store inside this range went up from 127 to 255. Always remember we got 0 too, right? So it's 255, right? Plus that 0, giving you a total of 256. Okay, so I just want to mention signed and unsigned. This is applicable to other integer, like data types as well, like integers, Boolean too. So you can have signed and unsigned, but Boolean, typically is 1s and 0s, so you don't really care about positive, negative. But signed and unsigned integer, right? It's also a very important thing because integer is 4 bytes, which is 2 to the 32, right? This is a much, much larger. We're going into the millions, right? So having a signed versus unsigned in the integer space, the 4 byte space means a lot, right? The capacity, from capacity standpoint. Okay, some of the chart data types, not some of the chart data type, but some of the chart data that we can have. Tab is represented, right? This is all enclosed in a single quote, okay, single quote. As you can see, this letter C also has a decimal value of 99 in ASCII table. Sometimes you can do that too. You can say, hey, instead of saying char, right, equals single quote C, you can see char, right, this equals 99. Same thing, okay, same effect. But it's not the same, when you're a human being, you're looking at these numbers, you don't know what they are. This thing in red is a pretty bad practice, right? You don't want to write something like that, even though it works. So like I said, char uses a single quote. Can you have Pasadena being closed in a single quote? The answer is no, right? There's no such thing, right, as a multi-character literal in C++. If you were to have a Pasadena as a buffer, you want to store them in a string. Okay, so string is a array of characters, okay, sequence of characters enclosed in double quotes. So in that case, you want to use a double quote. Just to know that the double quote 8 and single quote 8, they're totally different things, right? The first one calls for 24 bytes. The second one is a single byte. Okay, so we just went through that last time. Characters literals, you can look at, and pretty much every single one of this is on your keyboard too, right? Tab, character return, backspace, and these are represented with escape characters, because if you don't have the escape backslash, this will be an N, right? So N has a different number. So you want to include this one. But generally, yeah, when you have a backslash and a characters, this is a single character, Okay, single character. Again, all of these has to be inside a single quote. And then you have a value for this, you have a value for this. These all different, right? So we talked about this A and B on ASCII table, so you can look at it. All right, so that was the literal, and now let's talk about initialization. So we talked about the fact that, if you know the ASCII value of A, right, you can just have it as a 97. Although this is just a bad practice, is like I said, no one is going to have ASCII table while writing code, right? So even though this is valid, that's not something that you want to do. And of course, when you're dealing with a character, you cannot have multi-character, right? String buffer here. So this is invalid. In fact, you can't even have that. This character type is a char, so this has to be a byte, okay? And this is not even a characters to begin with. So character initialization. So initialization means when you declare something, in this case, char, you have also to assign a values to it. So initialization means declaration plus assignment. Okay, so what is assignment? Assignment is this equal sign. Okay, so declare and assignment at the same time. That's what we call initialization. Okay, so there's a difference between this initialization and assignments.